150,000 troops, thousands of missiles, and an entire coastline turned into an impenetrable fortress. For 30 straight days, the U.S. Navy threw everything they had at the Strait of Hormuz and still couldn't take it. Not with airstrikes, not with warships, not even with modern destroyers. So they upped the game. Because what happens when an army prepares for a war from the sea but gets it from the sky instead? Operation Epic Fury was launched regarding strategic goals against Iranian infrastructure. Several missions have been carried out to neutralize the threat, and the mission on March 27, 2026, showcased U.S. forces at their best. Before the day of the mission, the U.S. had been relentlessly launching naval attacks on the strait, a siege that went on for almost a month and still wasn't successful. But on March 27th, they came up with a new plan, deploying the USS Tripoli into the Central Command Area of Operations. The Tripoli is the second America-class amphibious assault ship and carried a total of 3,500 sailors and Marines, with its deck lined with F-35B fighter jets. Not far behind, the USS Boxer followed with MV-22B Ospreys and another 2,200 armed personnel, making a total of 5,000 Marines, all moving towards one of the most sinister, critical choke points on Earth, the Strait of Hormuz. It took nothing less than 36 hours before Iran responded. A speaker sent a clear message: any American breath on Iranian territory would be met with force. There was no time for hesitation, and Uncle Sam doesn't take no for an answer. But that response raises the wrong question. Iran wasn't sure whether the Marines would invade or not. It was only natural to put out threats. After all, it's their domain. But the real question is what the USS troops were doing in the area, especially after 30 days of constant naval firepower. And what makes it so different now that they have their Marines and Air Force? To understand that, you have to know the workings of the Hormuz. Because unlike most sea fortresses, it isn't just closed by ships, but by a layer of systems. A powerful defense system that was never meant to be penetrated by pure firepower. The US understood this, and that is why they brought surprise. The issue isn't that the Navy is not formidable, but that they weren't trained to fight the kind of war aren't just rocks. They are reconstructed into heavily armed and fortified platforms. This is what happens when you attack the opposition on their own turf. Iran has turned these islands into what their commanders call unsinkable aircraft carriers. Each one is equipped with anti-ship cannons, radar installations, and hidden mobile missile launch systems in tunnels that has been engineered to last for decades. Chucked Iranian sophisticated missiles like the Qadr and Noor surrounding the waters. Well hidden, some barely hold 15 to 18 feet above the surface, being totally invisible to radar until the final seconds. These missile systems are backed up by jamming systems to help blend them into the mountains. They only emerge to fire and retract almost immediately. It is almost impossible to take out these threats. The tunnels are carved deep into mountains. The launchers roll out, fire, and disappears in under 2 minutes. These tunnels can be seen from space, but you can't predict which one will open or when. Picture whack-a-mole, but this time around the moles are explosives. And even by chance you manage to take out one launcher, another takes its place. This is the wave of pressure the US Navy faced. Going in, bombs and cannons ablaze can destroy targets and level most of the infrastructure. But it cannot seize territory. The US doesn't want to blow up the whole harbor. What they want is to take it. Because someone has to physically hold the terrain overlooking the water. That's not a job for ships. That's a job for Marines. This brings up another question. If the Marines were a sure triumph card, why wait 30 days? Because the US wasn't just throwing million-dollar weapons at Iran for nothing. It was a desperate play for a sure takeover. You can't just send aircraft and land Marines into intact air defenses. That'll be a slaughter. You can't neutralize mines with anti-ship threats present. And you definitely can't fly Ospreys through active missile launchers without being blown to bits. Every layer had to be stripped away first. This is where Iran made a big mistake. For decades, they prepared the Hormuz for a specific kind of invasion, by sea. For many years, they expected amphibious landings, ships approaching the shoreline, and troops storming breaches under heavy fire. Its defenses were built around that idea: naval mines, fast attack boats, and anti-ship missiles. But in Big 2026, that assumption doesn't work. Because the US Marines aren't coming from the water, they're coming from the sky. Now that the troops were in position, the MV-22B Osprey changes the equation, taking off like a chopper, then launches like an aircraft, moving at almost 400 knots. These newer models of Ospreys doesn't give defenders reaction time. What used to take 8 minutes now takes 2. The assault is precise and well-planned. Ospreys launch from ships hundreds of miles away, bypassing now inactive mines easily. Each aircraft can carry about 24 Marines, allowing a total of 300 troops to land in a single wave. But they didn't land alone. Heavy-lift helice hovered in the air, ready to extract the team if things get too hot, while the F-35Bs and attack helicopters keeps the resistance ahead busy. Iran didn't see this coming. No beaches were stormed, no slow buildup. There wasn't any need. The recent 30 days of siege made sure of that. On paper, their 150,000 troops might seem intimidating, but the numbers are spread across a vast coastline, making them thin faster. With each island having only a few hundred soldiers, the US Marines have gathered data and information from the one-month battle and exploited this, concentrating forces to strike at a single point with overwhelming power. 500 troops against 300 defenders. They stood no chance. The battlefield flips instantly. Once Marines land, the situation worsens for the Iranian troops. Reinforcements become difficult. Supply lines are cut, and air defenses are degraded. After weeks of sustained strikes, Iran's defense network becomes weak. Communication weakens. Mobile missile stockpiles backs off, and naval support fades. With defenses neutralized, the battle becomes one-sided. Operations accelerate, assaults intensify, and control begins to emerge. But even with this major win for the Marines, it wasn't the end. Beyond the coastline lies an even bigger challenge, one that requires a different kind of force. The mission of paratroopers is to bypass defenses entirely. They don't fight through them, they land behind them. This mission was about opening the strait. The US Navy proved there is a limit to firepower. They broke layered defense systems, sank fleets, and leveled strongholds. 5,000 Marines, 21 nautical miles. One system dismantled piece by piece, but it wasn't enough to reopen the Hormuz. And now, With Marines seizing key terrain and airborne forces preparing to push deeper, Iran's impenetrable fortress finds it hard to live up to its name. The question now changes from if they can open the strait to when.